Kams audio son. You burn this wine when I want you shine. The tree of life, them I want you climb, cause them heart no kind. Kams, I say them heart no kind. Buxton Massive, Kidaki, Red Hat.
Never joke, never joke, never joke. Oh, money, never money, never money, money, never money, money, now know what you can even money. Money, never money, never money, money, never money, money, you can keep, you can even money. When you've been knocked for a bum, in a bill tell me money. Now because your money done, you come with conniving money. When you had your pocket full, in a bill tell me money. Now because your money done, you hustle for tell me money. Yes, money, never money, never money, money, never money, money, now know what you conniving money. Neighbor, neighbor, joker, neighbor, neighbor, joker, neighbor, neighbor, joker. That's all the money that me walk for. A 2 pound note and a guilder piece. A 2 pound note and a guilder piece. A 2 pound note and a guilder piece. That's all the money that me walk for. I said money, neighbor, money, neighbor, money, money, neighbor, money, money. Now I know what you can even money. Oh, Joseph.
Well, I invoke the WP's position that we are engaging in civil disobedience and non-cooperation with the government, and on that grounds I refuse to participate in the interview. The question in struggle, is not personal. Whatever sacrifice as a political activist or a political leader you have to make for your people, you have to make it.
Guyana and Guyanese, at home and abroad. Tune in to Guyanese Morning Time, hosted by Kadaki Amsterdam, where the sun always shines. Guyanese Morning Time, the people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. We rise up early morning watching Kams Tv, where wisdom and knowledge, yes, it is the key. Exposing corruptions over land and sea, where the wicked politicians, they try to trick me. Guyana is a land for everybody. With 6 races should live in harmony. Is one set of people getting aisle money. Is one set of people doing the thievery. Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. This is a program that you all can see, sharing your views and your integrity. Like it, comment and share it all around. Pass it to your neighbor, safe and sound. A sad situation going on in this town. The voice of the people is getting trampled down. Out of the mouths of babes and sucklings, which has ordained me to sing. I sing Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, fooling the people. You promoting evil. Stop lying to the people. You are a part of the cycle. Stop fooling people. You're promoting evil. Stop lying to the people. You are a part of the cycle. I say, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. They got Breakford, Bork and Mark Benchcop. David Hines and Kadaki Amsterdam. Sherrod Duncan, Nigel London. Normal Brown and Gavin Matthews. Big up Paslow Port People Governor. Simona Brooms, Robin Simpson. Hampton Green and Winston Jordan. And yes, we can go right on and on. Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again.
The relatives and friends of young Wyndham Bacchus, they deserve justice. The family, the relatives and friends of our in Boston, they deserve justice. The family, the relatives and friends of Peter Headley, they deserve justice.
And so when we say that Guyana is an apartheid state, we have the evidence to show.
7 hours 32 in Guyana. Yes, my time minding its own business. I don't know why, you know. I really don't set time on my computers, but it would appear as though it's about 6 minutes behind time. All right, yourself though. Welcome to the program. It's Friday. It's Free Talk Friday. Right now I'm tempted to allow you guys to do all the talking. I don't feel like doing too much talking, except to say I told you so. Barney, how was you yesterday? How you passed yesterday? How was your last night? You rested well last night? Did you wake with new ideas, new vision, new energies? How are you? What are your success stories? You can share them with us this morning. You know, I'm always a motivator. I need some motivation this morning. You motivate me, man. What is this? Yeah, I'm dressing like camera. Not good. Not good enough. Good. Anyways, morning. I hope you made some money yesterday. I hope you achieved some goals. I also hope you were able to fend off the naysayers. I really and truly wish you had success in everything you attempted to do last night. I do hope so. Right? The battle is not won yet. The war is far from being over. But we have to continue to press on. And press on we will. Don't let them intimidate you. Don't let them buy you out. Don't let them coerce you. The lineup of enemies, the lineup of naysayers, the lineup of detractors might look long. It look really, really long. The battle certainly is long. But rest assured, it is going to be won. It has to be won. It has to be won. There can be no alternative. If you want to survive. If we want to survive. Not only as African Guyanese, not only as black people, but as Guyanese of humble means. I don't like the word poor. I tell people that I don't like the word poor. But Guyanese of humble means have to be determined to fight this kleptocratic government, this thieving government, this raping government, this sexually perversive government. We have to be able to fight them. We have to be willing to fight them. No matter how long the battle will wage, we have to fight them. It's the only alternative. You know, yesterday I saw a release from CGID, Guyanese Institute for Democracy. A long list of names of associates of the government, associates of the PPP, who according to the CGID release have allegedly been involved in taking sexual advantage on the Amerindian people. Note I said the Amerindian people, the Amerindian nation. I didn't say Amerindian females. Because I just also received a note of Amerindian males, young boys, being coerced into engaging in
homosexual activities. By a certain male in a particular region before they can even get employed. In other words, we usually talk about pay to play. In many of these Amerindian communities, we're talking about sex to play. Unnatural sex, natural sex. And I hate to say I told you so. I hate to say I told you so. Because prior to the Darmlal story being broken, and once the Darmlal story became known, I said to you, Darmlal doesn't stand alone. The PPP is a sex trafficking organization, a cartel, a criminal organization masquerading as a political party. I've been saying that to you all the time. I told you that they've been trading sex. They've been trafficking Guyanese women to Suriname especially, where they have big hotels, just as they have the sleep-ins here and so on, and whichever other hotels they have. They are owners of hotels in Suriname. Right? They are owners of hotels in Suriname, and they're trafficking Guyanese women and Venezuelan women to Suriname as sex workers. They're using Guyanese, using Suriname, Venezuelan women right here in their hotels, in homes, in nightclubs, as sex workers. And so I wasn't surprised when I saw that list. And that list, I dare say to you, is short, because I know some notable names that are not on that list as yet. But trust me, as they say, time is longer than twine, or time is longer than rope. But as sure as night turns to day, you're going to hear those names. You are going to hear those names. And my encouragement to you is keep on keeping on, Guyanese. Keep on keeping on. Keep on keeping on. Keep the fire to the feet of these criminals in government. Keep the fire to the feet of these criminals in government. Because unless, like I said, unless you are prepared to hold strong, hold steady, hold the line of battle, we ain't getting out of this bind. Right? And if you think this is a problem that will affect, or this is a problem that affects only the Amerindian community, I dare caution you that it doesn't only affect the Amerindian community. It might not be as widespread in African Guyanese communities, but it certainly is a problem in Indo-Guyanese communities, because I know what I'm saying again. Many Indo-Guyanese sisters would have shared time and time again that it is against their best interests to walk in their own communities in the dark of night. In the dark of night. 6 o'clock remains a curfew for many of the Indo-Guyanese sisters. in places like Enterprise and more, in places like Beton Hope, in places like Mahicon. They tell you plain and straight. Taxis in those areas stop working by a certain time. And if they don't get to the roadheads to get those taxis before they stop working, they have to walk in the communities which are usually deep. And that is where the tribulations begin. Understand that? So keep that in mind. We have a society that pays scant regard to the different types of abuse that our people are exposed to. Singing Sandra, I'd rather die with my dignity. She details what women go through. And that was in our time. I dare say it might be 10 times worse now. Definitely in this Guyana of ours. Young ladies will tell you, if they only find the strength, what many of them have to go through to get employed, to get a particular job, usually jobs to which they are qualified. And these are not just, as you might say, ordinary folks. Many of our well-to-do, well-educated sisters have to literally give it up, as we say, for us to get a job, and if they have the job, to get promotions, to get opportunities for upward mobility. And so when you look at the long list of names that was published by CJ yesterday, you can understand, you can put two and two together, as they say. And you may be able to comprehend what the problem is. You're telling me that these sexual predators only have eyes for Amerindian male and females? I dare argue not. It might be their ramping ground, as we like to say. It might be their hunting ground. It might be where they know that they, or tell themselves they can get through easier without the likelihood of repercussions. But people of this nature don't restrict their bad behavior to one geographic zone or one set of people. Yes, Marcia, I heard of Buxtonian. Right? They don't restrict that misbehavior, that perversion to one geographic area or one set of people. Every opportunity they get, every opportunity they see, they follow up on. No, David Amsterdam, I did not read Kaicho News this morning. Strange enough, Kaicho News is not even loading on my computer these days. So the last 2 weeks, I wonder what y'all do. Right? But at the end of the day, we have to keep up the fight. We have to keep on the front burner the fact that we have a government that is abusive sexually abusive to citizens of this country, discriminatory to citizens of this country, kleptocratic, undemocratic. We have to keep all of those on the front burner because that's the reality we're dealing with. I don't know how many of you saw the list or heard of the names. But let me see, let me share it with you. In fact, I'll read the entire story, so it didn't come from me. I'm reading what was published. Multiple allegations emerge against more PPP government ministers and other officials in what appears to have been a sadistic rampage of Amerindian children across Guyana by PPP men. Amerindian leaders in communities throughout Guyana are coming forward with more horror stories about their underage school children allegedly being sexually exploited by men in the PPP government, including ministers of government. In a letter to the Caribbean Guyana Institute for Democracy, indigenous leaders named local government minister Nigel Dharamlal, the current PPP housing minister Colin Crowell, Lethem Mayor John Macedo, Region 9 Community Development Officer Ken Faria, PPP Member of Parliament Alex Charlie, Region 1 Deputy Regional Executive Officer Tikaram Bisasar, Region 9 REO Carl Singh, Region 9 Community Development Officer Compton Peters, and others. CJ attorneys are currently reviewing the list of detailed allegations for publication. We will also dispatch these allegations to Guyana's Director of Public Prosecutions, DPP, the Child Protection Services, and the international community. Obvious PPP officials believe that they are above the law. They have allegedly been involved in a calculated and systemic abuse of young Amerindian children who they have allegedly used for sex. Some of the allegations constitute human trafficking for the purpose of sex. The letter stated that the named individuals were allegedly involved in compelling, forcing, and coercing underage Amerindian school children to perform sexual acts. Such human trafficking is an international crime against humanity. It requires an immediate commission of inquiry and a wide-ranging criminal investigation by an independent law enforcement agency other than the Guyana Police Force. CJ urges all indigenous leaders throughout Guyana to document all allegations of sexual abuse in their communities and submit said allegations to the DPP and the international community. Signed, Richard Millington, Esquire, Director of Communications, CJ, June 22, 2023. So you are the names there. How many of you can identify with the names? How many of you can identify the people? How many of you know of the involvement in this kind of activity? Can you confirm? Can you confirm? Can you? Like they usually say. Sam Van der Soep has a question mark at Macedo. Why? Why, Sam? I'm going to stick to the old adage that says, in every pong of lie, they got an ounce of truth. People don't just wake up and accuse people of doing wrongdoings. Unless they got sick mind. I've said to you that there are no names that are not on that list. And I wait the day to see them. because I will continue to tell you that there is a very well-known public figure who is involved in such activities, allegedly, in the only Amerindian settlement in Region 4. Y'all know y'all history, geography. The only Amerindian settlement in Region 4 is a place named known as St. Cuthbert's Mission. Right? It has another name. I think Granger usually call it by its Amerindian name. I can't remember right now, and so I'm not going to try to remember. But the fact of the matter is that these abuses are not new. Right? These abuses are not new. Guyanese have sat back too long and accepted them. You see, we live in a whisper society. We live in a whisper society. So a lot of us know bad things happening, but we only whisper about it. There's nobody to tell me that the drivers are not aware, the security officers, the bodyguards, whoever they call them, are not aware. Of what some of these people do. As a matter of fact, I can tell you that in many instances, a lot of these security officers, bodyguard, whatever you call them, drivers, are used to procure victims for these miscreants in government. A lot of them can tell you stories of who they pick up where and put them off where, and what they heard and what they saw. It's a widely known secret. Note I said widely known secret. About that hotel on the East Bank on Soesdijk, as a matter of fact. It's a widely known secret. Where a lot of screaming and bawling and begging takes place. Are you saying people are only whispering about it? Don't the authorities have word about it? It wasn't there a task force on trafficking in persons? Has there ever been a raid on any of these places that are named in these complaints? Marvin Gilbert said they're drinking water. Yeah, they're minding their own business. But I pray to God it doesn't get close to them. Because only when it gets close to them, then is when they hold their head on the ball. Then is when they will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. In the meantime, what do? We roll over and say let the big boys continue to have fun at our expenses. What kind of society do we have or will we have if we allow these abuses to continue? And let me say this to you. If this is the behavior of the locals, if these ministers, these members of government, these associates of government are misbehaving in this way, can you imagine what their overseas and international friends are allowed to do when they come here? I'm sure you've heard of sex tourism, right? Can you imagine? Are you going to wait until your children, our children, can be grabbed from the street and taken to satisfy the sick desires of some foreigner or some local in government who tells himself that he has a right to do as they wish? Have you paid attention to the words allegedly said to that young lady, that school girl by Darmlal? I am your first. I own you. I own you. When a human being says to another, I own you, what historical event comes to mind? You are not my slave. I own you. You are my slave. You are my sex slave. Do you recognize that based on that young lady's account, Darmlal ensured, or I would say ensured, he used every orifice on her body? Every opening large enough to accommodate his mushroom, as they're calling it, he has interfered with. He didn't just vaginally rape her. He sodomized her. He forced his penis into her mouth. So he ensured he has totally violated her. I am sure with the thinking in his mind that I will break her. And so when she is broken, I will have full control of her. So at the end of the ordeal, he said, I am your first. I own you. The citizens of this country must ensure that the state owns Darmlal as an inmate of the Georgetown or whichever prison they choose to put him. We must not sit back and give the impression to the DPP and the police that they can muddle this one up and we will sit idly by. Let the word be shared loud and clear as of now that we expect the police to carry out a thorough and proper investigation, and we expect the DPP to assign a competent prosecutor in lesser cases than this. Special prosecutors have been involved. I am saying that this matter needs a special prosecutor. There is need for a special prosecutor. One who is perhaps internationally renowned. Internationally known for fighting for the rights of victims. Matter of fact, I think there is a need for international investigators to either shadow the locals or to take it up totally. Take it over. Because you cannot trust the Guyana Police Force. The Guyana Police Force is already compromised in this investigation, not by an ordinary rank, but a senior superintendent in the name of Shiv Baran or something to that extent. And my understanding is Shiv Baran did not do it on his own, but he was called by the highest ranking police officer in the country and told to take care of it. Somebody's calling. Let me see if I can help them. Well, I just ignore the calling here. I'll have to, right? And if the highest ranking officer in the Guyana police force issues an instruction to a senior officer to take care of that matter, make it go away, and they failed to make it go away thus far, how can we trust the investigators assigned to that matter to make it stick? Talk to me. How can we trust the investigators to do a thorough investigation to get enough evidence to make it stick? Already we are seeing cracks in this investigation. Already we are seeing compromises. We spoke already about the release of this man within 4 hours before the police even visited the crime scene or the alleged crime scene. And it took them perhaps another 72 hours before they even visited, if not 96. Right? Giving him enough time to alter the physical facts of where the young lady alleged she was raped. And one of the things which we must pay attention to is we are hearing stories of room being repainted and perhaps rearranged and so on. One has to immediately assume that somebody from the Guyana police force contacted Dharamlal and said to him, these are the claims of the young lady. These are what, this is the geographic space, this is the area that she has identified. These are the details of the area that she has described. And you will need to make those details go away. So then we make her look like she is not credible. And so it's not by happenstance, as they say, that Dharamlal decided that this is a good time to repaint the room, that this is a good time to perhaps move the couch around, that this is a good time to perhaps move the television around, redecorate, as we say. This is simply because he was advised to do that. And so we have to keep our eyes on the prize. Good morning, how may I help you? I'm on my program. Hello? Hello? Yes, we have to keep our eyes on the prize. And every day we have to keep it out there that we have a DPP that we can't trust. We have investigators in the Guyana Defense Force that we can't trust. And if you're looking for evidence of that distrust, remember Paper Shark's murder. It's the most recent. Remember Paper Shark's murder. Remember the murder of those 3 young men at the seawall. I can speak about them because I know. I know the details. I have been given the details. Imagine you have a law enforcement agency that shuts up one of its investigators because its ranks will face a murder charge. threatens the investigator to stay quiet and accept a promotion as hush money or hush reward. And since the whole of Guyana knows that the PPP treats the Amerindians as less than people, can you imagine what they will do to protect the PPP and Dharamlal from these allegations that are being made? Right? Nigel Price is raising the issue of very skimpy uniforms being worn in these hotels by their female staff. Every time I see a female walking down the road in one of those things, I say sex sells. And the owners of these hotels and other institutions, other organizations, other business establishments, where these girls are made to wear these skimpy uniforms, is prostituting them. I always say that. Even not aloud, I always say it in my mind. The bosses are prostituting them because that is the society. That is what the government is doing to its citizens. And the poorer they make us, the easier it will become for them to prostitute us. Right? Let's keep our eyes on that. And while we are keeping our eyes on that, let us keep our eyes on what the government is now attempting to do to the residents of Plaisance and the East Coast. East of Plaisance. Right? All residents east of Plaisance, pay attention to what the government is attempting to do to you. You know, I don't want to cast aspersions on all people of a particular ethnic group. But hotels, fear picking, rape, for as long as I was growing in this society, I've always been associated in a greater way with some sections of the society than others. Y'all remember Garmont? Those of you who are old enough, you remember Garmont? Anyhow, we're not going to go there this morning. I'm saying to those residents of Plaisance and east of Plaisance on the railway line to pay attention to what the government is about to do to you. Vendors of Plaisance railway line yesterday got notice. Or was it the day before yesterday? Got notice that they have 7 days to remove from the line top. Seven days to remove from the line top. Because the government of Guyana, or those who are sitting in the seat of government in Guyana, will be passing a 4-lane road through these villages on the East Coast. Now, there's some things to note about this 4-lane road. First and foremost, it is proposed to be constructed in a well-developed, highly populated section of the country. All the way from the embankment of Perhaps you can even start at Kitty. From the top of the embankment to the bottom of the embankment, if you start at Kitty and go all the way up, people's dwellings are located in close proximity to the road. Note, it was a train line. So the train traversed that area. People weren't forced to remove their dwellings. But in modern Guyana, where that train line was converted to a road, a thoroughfare, whatever you want to call it, it was dug up and resurfaced and so on. I think it's the poorest piece of road construction I've ever seen in my life. They never got it right. That road was never ever smooth. It was always a bumpy ride. But with all money, they're saying to you, we are going to convert this to 4-lane highway. Right along that railway line, you find schools, you find churches, you find supermarkets, you find markets, community markets. People have established businesses for their livelihood along that railway road. But this government suddenly has woken up and said, we are putting a 4-lane road here. But if you look at the geographic layout, you will realize that the East Coast Highway, what I know as the Rupert Craig Highway, a 4-lane highway, is just a stone's throw away from the one that they are proposing to create on the line top. In the middle of a village. In the middle of a village, they want to put a 4-lane road, 4-lane highway. When less than 5 or 6 minutes away, you have another 4-lane highway. Is it logical? No, it's not logical. Is it in keeping with the PPP's approach to governance? Yes, it is. Let us disrupt the lives of these people, especially those who did not vote for us. Especially those who did not vote for us. Let us put them under some pressure. The notice was shared at Plaisance. I've not heard of notices being shared at industry yet. I've not heard of notices being shared west of industry as yet. What else we know? We know that last year, December, the government consulted with the residents of industry and OGUN about this 4-lane highway. But up until now, they've refused to consult with the residents of Sparendam and Plaisance. But instead, they have just done what? Handed them notices to remove, first and foremost, their businesses, and in the long run, their properties, their dwellings. But I want to tell you this. While those people are receiving notices for removal, go further east, and you will see in the area between Monrepo, I would say between Monrepo and Annandale, a lot of commercial buildings are under construction. You all hear what I'm saying? Between Moripo and Annandale, there are lots of commercial buildings under construction. Meanwhile, they're telling those at Plaisance, you all have to move your businesses. You all gonna move your homes. We're gonna disrupt your lives. I've seen the markings. I've been paying attention to the markings. And I'm saying this. Those Buxtonians who are listening, it is coming in our direction. Let us not wait until it reaches before we decide as a community how we will deal with it. Let us not wait until it reaches our doorstep before we decide how we will deal with it. Because it is coming. It is coming to BV. It is coming to Buxton. It is coming to Friendship. It definitely is coming to Melanie. We as a people have to determine among ourselves how we will deal with it. And I'm saying to everybody who is on the line top, this concerns all of us. And we must approach it in unity and togetherness. Not Plaisance fighting for itself. Not Buxton fighting for itself. Not Melanie fighting for itself. But every single community that will be affected, banding ourselves into one movement and confronting it. Quite frankly, in the name of development, the railway line doesn't need a 4-lane highway. It will endanger our children. It will endanger our lives. It will endanger our livelihood. The Chos will come and say, you're anti-development. But we anti-development that doesn't have sense in it. Doesn't consider logic. Who wants to put a 4-lane highway 4 minutes away from one in the middle of a community? When you have at the back of these communities hundreds or thousands of acres of land through which a 4-lane highway can pass, and you can achieve the same thing, and you can achieve development also, because it will make it possible for people to occupy lands further south of where they are currently. But you know what? We don't live in a democracy. So people are not consulted. And the citizens of this country do not understand the concepts of democracy and self-determination and standing up for their rights. So it is assumed that we all will roll over and allow the PPP to do as they like. When they like, how they like. There are also plans afoot, I think I mentioned it yesterday, of the PPP to take over lands in the front of African Guyanese villages to the seaside and establish communities where they will place their supporters in an effort to gerrymander votes, in an effort to water down the votes of those African Guyanese communities, in an effort to dominate them at the local government and regional elections, national elections. In other words, they are going to create communities on those front lands of African Guyanese villages and bring in blocks of their own voters to quote-unquote balance out the votes that are customarily cast in those areas for the opposition. It's all in the quest for domination. We have a responsibility to keep our eyes on it. We have a responsibility to push back on it. And I'm repeating it because I know I said it yesterday. residents of those African Guyanese communities with lands north of the public road towards the seaside, go and occupy those lands. They are the properties of your ancestors. They are your inheritances. Go and occupy them and be prepared to fight, to keep them. Be prepared to resist these oppressors so they don't get to execute the nasty and wicked plans. That's my encouragement to you this morning. It's Free Talk Friday. I didn't want to talk for such a long time, but the lines are open. 622-5933 is the number to call. Robin Simon, morning girl, how you do? Hey, you have enough land up at Linton, you have just occupy them. 622-5933 is the number to call. You tune to the Guyanese Morning Time. Call it live.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Amsterdam. Good morning, everyone in diaspora. Good morning, all Guyanese. I want to deal with the issue of the PPP's abuse of power. The PPP's abuse of power over the years is metastasizing, means it's spreading. Its cancerous reaches. They're like a cancer. So after death squad killings for 23 years, and economic downsizing and marginalization of African and Amerindian communities, now they have metastasized into a variety of other things, one of which is sexual abuse. Right? So they're really getting comfortable. Transnational crimes. I want to talk about transnational crimes as part of that metastasization of the PPP's abuse. Now, one of the transnational crimes can be done with guns, drugs, but most frequently, human trafficking. Now, when we talk about human trafficking, we talk about physical sex, sex slaves, and sex workers. Within the sex worker human trafficking, people are also trafficking in the visual acts, in the acts which are committed during sexual trafficking, such as pedophilia, such as sharing their private parts. Trafficking doesn't always have to be physical. It can happen by way of internet. And that's what Darmlau was participating in. A crime across two continents, South America and the North American continent, by way of the super communications highway. So that's part of violation of the Cyber Crimes Act. In addition to which, it's also violation of the laws of the United States and Guyana to facilitate transnational crimes by way of the internet. Now, where's the evidence? Now, a mother had called and she had said that she interdicted Damlal's relationship with her daughter, her underage daughter. So that's evidence to begin with. So I'm looking to see if people are going to address this issue or they're going to sidestep it. And those are in the United States like Rickford Bork and Mark Benchchop, et cetera, and you don't have to be in the United States. They can do the preemptive stuff and get the phone records. I don't understand how people are allowing people to go in Damlal's house and reshift stuff, and lawyers in Guyana aren't asking for injunction against any of this. We had the information long before law companies were hired. But now we're hearing people going in the house, Damlal's house, and shifting, moving things around, and no injunctions were preemptively thought of. Maybe it's just our attitude, slow to act. This isn't the first time we had the Christopher Jones incidents with preparation for injunctions. We had several issues, run-ins with the PPP, whereby our guns should have been cocked and loaded concerning how we act in these types of situations. Lawyers at the ready. So we got to stop being behind the ball. So here's advice I'm giving again. There's a transnational crime that was committed between Guyana and the United States, and the mother stepped out there and mentioned it. So this is an additional evidence against Darmlal. So we're waiting to see what can be done about it. Yeah, yesterday I saw something with AFC leader Kams Tv, where he went to represent the family, requested his presence, to be there, to have oversight, and to protect the interests of the family when the child services were taking statements. And he was told as an attorney that he cannot be there to have any oversight, to protect the rights. Since when Guyanese don't have rights? Since when your rights are parked? If Roxanne George and the chancellors are listening, or the CCJ in Guyana is there and listening, since when our rights are parked? Let me ask a basic question. Since when we park our rights? Since when our rights hang up in a bag or hang up in a closet until later notice? Since when that happens? So people must understand, rights is not like a light switch, you turn them on and turn them off. They're always there. So when Mr. Ramjatan was there, he should have known enough. But that's why I tell you about lawyers. But anyway, I think he was sincere. So let me give him credit. And I'm not trying to cast any aspersions on Mr. Ramjatan, but our rights don't park or take time out and breaks. So Mr. Ramjatan raised the issue, and I think it's a good point that he raised. But I'm raising that issue, that our rights don't take time out. And Guyanese should know that at no time can anybody tell you, left the for later on, man. Right? The only time our rights took time out was in slavery. Anybody allowed their rights to take time out is a slave, or has been made to a slave. Understand that basic principle. Now, so who will protect that process? Who? After the fact? After the fact is not good. It's already gone. We're talking about on the issue of the house, Darmlal's house. It was said that the house was rearranged. Okay, fine. Look, the whole planet was rearranged. That didn't stop Ivan van Sertima, a Guyanese scholar, from finding the facts that Columbus could never have come to Guyana or discover the West Indies first. How did he do that? He went to the soil. He went to the trees. He went to the ocean currents. I'm saying there's evidence still in that house. You want me to tell you how? Here is how. The girl testifies to several things in that house. And I'm pretty sure she has to have testified about the color of the house. What color was the paint on the wall? Missy? Was it blue? Was it green? Mr. Ramjatan said that the rooms were freshly painted over according to his senses of smell. So when you scrape off the top paint, what does the bottom paint reveal? Evidence. So basically they just galvanized and secured the evidence for us. Thank you very much. Okay, so there is evidence in that house. Stop telling us nonsense. That's just like the death squad commissions. We ain't got the evidence. And the evidence is in the United States Congress. Come on, stop talking to Guyanese like this. All right, you got to stop allowing people to spoon feed us nonsense. So the evidence is in the house. Let me move on. Concerning the disrupting of our lives that Mr. Amsterdam talked about, the disruption of the people's lives in Pleasance Line Top. A 4-lane highway. Well, look at the amount of dust that's going to throw on them. Look at the amount of dust. Noise. You know in the United States when they normally bring highways through black neighborhoods? Just disrupt the whole neighborhood. So that's what's being done there. And then, so Mr. Kadaki is right. What are the spin-offs of that? So possibly they bring the highways, and then they're going to come for the backlands. Like the man said, you want our backlands? Where are 4-lane highways going? We don't even have a 4-lane highway coming to Georgetown. You're going to 4-way highway through Pleasance. For what? For what reason? So these are very, very good questions Mr. Amsterdam has raised this morning. I want to finish off by retouching on that evidence in that house. Paint can't cover up no evidence.
Life, them no why you climb, 'cause them heart no kind. Comes, I say them heart no kind. Buxton massive.
Well, I invoke the WPA's position that we are engaging in civil disobedience and non-cooperation with the government. And on that grounds, I refuse to participate in the interview. The question in struggle, is not personal. Whatever sacrifice as a political activist or a political leader you have to make for your people, you have to make it.
Morning, neighbor, morning. Are you morning? Welcome to another program of Guyanese Morning Time. The numbers are low this morning. I wonder why. Anybody can tell me why the numbers are so low? Y'all sleeping late? Share the live, folks. Share the live. Good morning. Welcome to another program. Y'all had a long night last night or what? I hope you had a good weekend. Whatever you did with it, I hope it turned out successful. I hope you made lots of money. Money pelting around this country, left, right, and center. How y'all ain't catching none? Oh, I forget. You gotta be in bed with the PPP to get money now. Well, if you gotta be in bed with anybody or somebody to get money, then you are involved in. Y'all complete a statement for me. If you have to be in bed with anybody or somebody to get money, you are involved in. That is what the government is turning us into. Can't believe it. A nation of pimp stand. Morning. I trust you had a restful weekend. I hope you are now recuperated and you're raring to go again. I do hope that you were able to achieve some goals over the weekend. Like I usually say, they work you from 9 to 5. 5 days a week. 6 days a week. When you get that extra day or that extra 2 days, engage in some self-emancipation activities. Right? Engage in some self-emancipation activities. And don't let nobody fool you, Money is important for self-emancipation. As a matter of fact, those of you who studied history and the slave trade to be more specific, would remember that there was a time when our ancestors could have worked and saved their monies and buy themselves out of slavery. Do you remember that? Yes. Right? Yes. And so that alone shows the importance of money in any society, especially a society that is like unto the one we have in Guyana, where everything has a price. Everything has a price. Everything has a price. I violate you sexually, there's a price I will pay, and the case will disappear. I physically assault you, there's a price I will pay, and the case will disappear. Good? So everything has a price. So the whole story is, prepare yourself, because they say forewarned is forearmed. You got to prepare yourself, my brothers and sisters. Prepare yourself. Make some money. You see, they say the love of money is the root of all evil, but the love of money or the acquisition of money could protect you from a lot of evil. Because if people know that you have the same financial capacity as them, or your financial capacity is greater than theirs, they think twice before they mash you too, you know. Because they understand that you can pay for the same justice that they can pay for. And so reflect on what you have seen in this Guyanese society. And as I'm talking, I remember I had shared with you a video some months ago of what was happening somewhere on the Essequibo coast. Two neighbors were fighting for a plot of land. And the person who was doing the live streaming suddenly had to duck and run and ball because gunshots start licking. One family had cutlasses and the other one had guns. That is the difference of what your money will do for you in societies like these. Good. The one with the gun didn't mind killing somebody, you know, because what? I got enough money, I could pay the price. Whether for the lawyer or whether for my kind of justice. But that's the reality. So I will always encourage you to make money. Last Friday I spoke about the removal of those people from Plaisance Line Top. Recent information I got is that there are 62 homes. Let me say buildings. Because I don't know how we categorize it, but in my mind, in many instances, there's several homes in a building. Right? There's several homes in a building in many instances. But 62 dwellings, that's a place, that's what I should perhaps call it. 62 dwellings are identified according to a contact of mine in Plaisance. 62 dwellings will be affected. They didn't do the assessment as to how many persons will be affected in those 62 dwellings. But if I do a minimum calculation of average 5 persons per dwelling, you're talking about 310 persons who will be affected by that move. And that is only in the Plaisance area. That is only in the Plaisance area. And no road passes one village only. Certainly that one will not only be passing Plaisance. So imagine the number of persons. I'm already calculating thousands of persons will be affected by this decision to pass 4-lane highway, as they say, along the railway embankment. But just yesterday afternoon, I traveled the railway embankment, and I'm looking at it and I'm saying, where this 4-lane highway really is going to go? They really are going to have to go very close to people's homes. And already we have vehicles flying off the roads, as Guyanese say, and going under people's houses and knocking out their columns and so on, breaking down the house. What will happen when they are extremely close, a swerve away from the edge of the road? What will happen? And so I'm repeating the call. Everybody along that railway embankment there, start thinking, start discussing with your neighbors. Start forming clusters of discussions. How do we get the government to understand that we are concerned about our safety and the safety of our children? And we do not believe it is a good idea to put a 4-lane highway passing through this community or any community on this railway embankment. Right? Those are some of the things I want to encourage us to do this morning. I further want to say to people, village leaders especially, because leaders are placed there to represent the people. Local government elections were just had, and so in a lot of these neighborhoods, the leadership has changed. Even if not from one party to the other, it has changed in terms of who will be the party representatives at the level of the councils and so on. You can't be slow to the draw. These new leaders and the old leaders need to sit together quickly and form a caucus, if you want to call it that, where all of the community leaders can meet, whether by WhatsApp, whether virtually or otherwise, and discuss what the impacts on their communities will be, and create a dossier. Create an all-inclusive document to highlight to the world, to highlight to the government, to highlight to the people what the perceived challenges will be for these communities through which this road is supposed to pass. And they also at the same time should knock heads together and come up with an approach for engaging the government on this proposed project. Why am I saying this? Because as they say, it's overused perhaps. Teamwork makes the dream work. Many hands make light work. In unity there is strength. All of these things I can say. But at the end of the day, it is a unified approach that will really test the mettle of this government when it comes to this road passing through these communities. Residents of Plaisance should not fall trap to dealing with the government individually, whether as individual homeowners or individual business owners or individual community. There must be a unity. There must be a commonality of how, of ideas of how to deal with this situation. We have had enough instances where the government or people fell prey to the government's invitation to deal with them on a one-on-one basis. And while individuals think that they were getting great deals or they were getting good deals for their property and their displacement and their livelihood, they soon came to realize, or they came to realize eventually, that they were not getting the best deals. And so the government was picking them off individually, which is easy to do. I can give you 22 million to move. Don't tell anybody. So, yay, I get $22 million, I get big money. Not knowing that the new market value of the property that they agreed to give up for $22 million is now $222 million. Right? collectively, we must move as a team. We must move collectively in dealing with the government on this issue of the 4-lane lightway that they propose to pass through Plaisance and other railway line bordering villages. And when you pool your resources, mental and otherwise, then it would be easier in my mind for you to get legal guidance, legal representation, because imagine 20 villages along the East Coast or 30 villages along the East Coast working together, and they can hire a legal firm, a law firm, or even an individual to protect their interests when dealing with the government about relocation, etc. Assuming that the government is going to be bullish on this project and insist that people must move out their way. Because like a lot of people like to say, Miranda Brown say, y'all want to stand in the way of progress. But in unity there is strength. I am going to keep echoing that. Look at Mocha. The mistake the people made was to deal with the government individually. Peter's Hall, they're trying to get the people there to deal with them individually. Hillfoot was all chaos, total destruction. Promises were made there. I understand by Colin Cole. Colin Cole, it is alleged to the residents, if you all vote for us, everything gonna be all right. That's in the last local government elections. Promises were made to date. They have not been fulfilled. They have not even had a second glimpse at Colin Cole because obviously they didn't get the votes of the people there apparently. It is within our interest to stand up and defend our community with togetherness. You know, it's for years I've always been cussing about the way the PPP treats Afro-Guyanese communities in particular. Buxton has a market, you know. Buxton has a market. Traditionally, the NDC, Neighborhood Democratic Council, or the village office at the time, used to be upstairs at the Buxton market. Several approaches have been made or were made to the PPP while they were in office 23 plus years to renovate and expand and modernize the Buxton market. All of them were turned down. What they did instead, they go to the railway embankment and they selected a section, they widened it, asphalted it and called it Buxton Market Tarmac. Plaisance has made several approaches over the years to have their market renovated and improved. Two-storied as they call it. They refused. They widened the road and they call it Plaisance Market Tarmac. Well, BV Market doesn't have a tarmac because BV Market is in the village. It's not close to the railway line. But it is in a serious state of disrepair again. Approaches have been made to the PPP for 23 plus years to have it renovated and modernized. They've refused. I can continue with that list. What they have done, if you go to Ants Grove, you will see the same thing. Golden Grove, you will see the same thing. What they have done in African Guyanese villages is allow the market structures, the buildings, to deteriorate and collapse and be abandoned and give them instead what I call bend-down market spaces, because everything is on the tarmac. Temporary spaces, because according to the understanding, You're only supposed to put temporary structures out there, structures that you can move at the end of the market day. So they increase your cost of operation. Because if you have to be carting in and carting out every day, your cost of doing business goes up. You have to sell to your customers in these communities at a higher cost than they can get it at other communities where the structures are permanent. For example, Monrepo has a permanent market. It has been redone at least 2 times under the PPP in government. It is currently being done again. 2-storied, expansive. Even while it was being constructed, the residents of Monrepo, the vendors of that market, took to the walls with sledgehammer and broke down some of them and said, we don't want this. This is now we want it built. And the PPP simply took instructions and they fixed it according to the desires of the vendors. But in places like Plaisance, the markets are on tarmacs. You got to bend down. That is what they want to bring you to, bend down. They want you to bend down all the time so the likes of Darmdale can do you what they want. That's what the government has been doing. We're going to talk about that. What Darmdale did to that young lady is what the government has been doing to the nation. Right? And so here they are again. Tell you that even to the tarmacs that he gave you to bend down on, to bend over on, you must not vacate those tarmacs because they feel like disrupting your life and livelihood. Citizens must reach a point when they say enough is enough, and stand up to government and say, we will not stand for it anymore. We will not take it anymore. Everybody wants development. But the question is, at what cost the development must come? At what cost must people get development? Every 2 mornings, you must allow the government to uproot you and treat you like you don't matter. While they're treating African Guyanese communities in this way, you go into Indo-Guyanese communities and you see a lot of construction taking place. I understand in many instances aided and abetted by government. People are becoming overnight contractors and so on. Commercial buildings are being erected. But in Afro-Guyanese communities, you got to pull teeth to get any progress. Our people must recognize, unless we unite and fight back, we are going to be taking advantage of every day. Every single day. No modern market. Even the semi-permanent structures that you try to construct so that you can ply your trade and keep operating costs down. The likes of Brockup Ben and Fisher Bishop and all of them, Black Uncle Toms, are used to push you out. I drove past the seawall yesterday. Kitty Seawall. Kingston Kitty Seawall. And oh, what a transformation. Beautiful transformation, man. You know what was also transformed? 90% of the businesses out there now are not owned by the small man who started the hustle out there. 90% of the businesses are now owned by the moneyed class. Coulon cats are almost a thing of the past out there. Because what? When the PPP took over, one of the first things they said, people have to apply for the spots they occupy. And unless you're granted permission, you have to move. Well, you know what that was. That was just an engineering strategy to get rid of the poorer class and put the moneyed class in charge. Go there and you will see what is happening if you don't believe me. But again, that is allowed to happen because I'm sure the poorer class of people who started the hustle out there had no unity. It was all about individualism. All of us are in competition with each other. Let us fight each other instead of fighting the government. To continue to control the rights of what we started, or the rights to what we started. We started the hustle out there. But now that we have developed it and the place has become popular, those who deserve to reap the fruits of our labor are those among the moneyed class. Take a look and you will see. You don't have to go long far to see what is happening in society. Dwayne Faber says, don't stop the progress, it's national interest. And I don't see any village seeing this as backwardness. Unless we have backward thinkers. The entire Guyana wants more road to stop congestion and a faster movement of traffic. To all who it affects, don't take set up by persons who sit comfortably behind a screen or on a keypad and just talk. Let's remember Moko. At the end of the day, progress will happen. Yeah, I take that as a direct threat. Let's remember Moko. At the end of the day, progress will happen. Progress to who? That's the question. Progress to who? And labeling those of us who point out the shortcomings of this government and the imbecility, the dotishness, the dunceness of the man who sits in the seat of the president and claims to have a doctorate in urban planning. Wouldn't stop people from seeing the facts of what we're saying. Backward thinkers sitting behind a screen, the comfort of whatever. You're in favor of sing for your supper, quite frankly, you can do that. You're entitled to that. But when you're ready to face reality and be honest and be at one with your conscience, then explain to us the wisdom of putting a 4-lane highway smack dab in the middle of a community, well populated, well established. This is not a developing community, or these are not developing communities. These are established communities. Explain the wisdom of putting a 4-lane highway through established, developed communities. Long established communities. They weren't established today. Do an impact assessment and establish how far away from this 4-lane highway public services are. How far away from these established highways you will find our primary and nursery schools? How far will you find our healthcare centers? How far will you find our police stations? And other such public infrastructure. Do that, Faber. And then come and tell us this bull that you're trying to tell us. And then add to that nonsensical position the fact that there is already a 4-lane highway less than 5 minutes walk from where they propose to put this other one. I haven't done the research, but I'm encouraging you. Bring me the evidence and show where in the world you have got 2 4-lane highways 4 minutes apart. especially when the second one had to disrupt established communities to be established, to be built. It doesn't make sense. It simply doesn't make sense. What makes sense is for the proper servicing of that very two-lane road, two-lane highway, what you want to call it, through these communities. Since the establishment of that road through these communities, it has never allowed for efficiency, never allowed for efficiency. Because it was always treated as an ugly stepchild, if you ask me. The paving of that road was the worst piece of road construction I saw in my lifetime. Apart from the fact that the roads they're building many times now are lasting for 6 weeks. That road never offered the users a smooth ride. Because they never got the foundation right. If you want to improve the efficiency of that road and reduce travel time, what you ought to do is ensure that it is properly surfaced. Evenly surfaced. Properly marked and lit. It is perhaps the darkest stretch of road in the entire East Coast or the entire Region 4. Right? Surface the road properly, light it properly, and I guarantee you there would be improved traffic flow. That very road was used to improve traffic flow not so long ago because it was made a one-way road within certain hours of the day. It was made one way. I think between 7 and 9 in the mornings. And so, improving efficiency is not always about more of anything. It is about managing what you have properly. And so if they were to fix that railway embankment road, light it properly, I am sure it is going to improve improve the efficiency of travel. You want to build a 4-lane highway? Road constructions are usually used to open up new lands for access. And so there are lots and lots of land behind those communities. Property of those communities. Property of residents of those communities, at least a large section of the land. Build your 4-lane highway behind those communities. And you will see how it will encourage further development southward of that 4-lane highway without disrupting the life and livelihood of the residents of those communities. And that is how governments are supposed to think. That is how you encourage. We talk about the need for a shifting capital, for moving out of the coastline. Because it's a low coastal plain and it is prone to flooding and so on. We talk about going inland. Well, how you want to go inland if every time you want to do a piece of development, you come to disrupt what is established already? You're supposed to put that construction in such a place that it will encourage people to gravitate towards new areas. But this dunce that y'all got sitting in the seat of the president and claim to be a doctor in urban development doesn't even understand that. And his dunce ambassadors like Faber, they too seem not to understand that. Faber asked the question, tell the people who was in charge of those markets, who run the NDC for all those markets. Tell the people, Faber, who controls the national purse who controlled the national purse for more than 23 years and are currently in control of the national purse, which is bigger than ever in the history of this country. Tell the people that. But instead of using it in an unbiased way for the development of these communities and their infrastructure, those very people are using it for politics. Vote for us. If you don't vote for us, you don't get nothing. If you don't vote for us, you can't get development. If you don't vote for us, we will disregard the recommended formula for calculating your subventions, and we will give you what we feel like giving you to ensure that you fail. Those are the things I want you to talk about, Faber. You see, I say every time I come here and I discuss certain issues, I say to you, quite frankly, I don't care who runs this country, so long as the citizens get a fair time, so long as citizens are treated fairly, so long as communities, ethnic groups are treated fairly, I don't care who runs this country. What I am concerned about is the development of the country and development for its citizens. And so far I'm not convinced that the PPP is the group of people who do that. What I know the PPP has been doing collectively is what Damlal has been doing to this country. What Damlal has done to that young lady. The PPP has been buggering us unashamedly. And so as a collective, the PPP must go. We must see the back of the PPP. The PNC came up with a slogan. The PNC is good at slogan hearing. For Guyana to grow, the PPP must go. But are we having enough actions? Are we having enough actions to ensure that the PPP goes? Do we have enough unity to ensure that the PPP goes? No, we don't. And so when we look at the behavior of the likes of Damlal, we see Damlal as an individual. But if we were to look further, if we were to look closer, we will recognize that Damlal is only an indication of the problem that is the PPP. My God, Harry Gill, this two-colored jackass, calls me an hypocrite and asked me if I criticize the APNU for not modernizing the same markets. And I will lose whatever little credibility I have. Well, Harry Gill, let me remind you, I will not lose my family. I will not abandon them like you did yours. And I have more credibility than you and your PPP acolytes. Because, hey, let me tell you something. Even a blind man can see that for the 3 effective years, note I said 3 effective years, that APNU was in power, they did a whole host of things. They made a whole lot of efforts to improve the lives and livelihood of Guyanese. You could have gone to any neighborhood health center and get proper health care. The PPP for its 23 years in office, plus this recent time, Buxton has a building that is fully prepared to accommodate a cottage hospital. Ask the PPP why it has not done it for the time it has been in office. Ask the PPP. quite frankly, in modern time, I think the best healthcare services Guyanese were able to have is while the APNU was in office. When the Minister of Health was not a healthcare professional, but a financial professional. Imagine that. Vala Lawrence, good morning to you. The woman was not specialized in healthcare. I understand she's a finance specialist. Some people say she's an accountant. I don't know. I never really paid close attention. But the best healthcare Guyanese were able to get was under Vala Lawrence, the APNU government, for that 3 years. The best time for communities across this country and community development was under the APNU for that 3 years. The resources weren't given out to them discriminatorily. As a matter of fact, I tell you something, I was one of the persons, and I still do it, who cuss Ronald Bulkan. Good morning to you, sir. Former Minister of Local Government, Ronald Bulkan, or Minister of Communities, whatever your portfolio he held. Because he took a hands-off approach to local government. He said the local government bodies are autonomous. And he's not going to be micromanaging local government bodies. Local government bodies will decide what they want to do with their subventions when government give it to them. Local government bodies will deal with their issues. At the local democratic level, Ronald Bulkan took a hands-off approach. But then came the PPP and their meddlers, and all of that went through the door. So who was this jackass? Oh, a two-color ass named Harry Gill. Telling me I will lose credibility. Well, buddy, you could only lose what you have. You ain't got no credibility. Your government ain't got no credibility. And that is why they have to go. People are looking, like I said, individually at Dharamlal as the source of the problem. Dharamlal is not the source of the problem. Dharamlal is part of the problem. But look at the recent declaration, the recent letter published by CGID, Rickford Burke and crew, from the Amerindian representatives. And listen to how they tell you that for quite a while since the PPP was and is in power, in government, their citizens, their family members, their natives have been raped and brutalized by the likes of, allegedly by the likes of Dharamlal and some guy named Faria and Colin Crowell and a whole long list of names of people who are members, leading members of the PPP. And after that, that complaints were made to the police in those communities, and the police have done nothing about those complaints. And when you consider that a state agency like the police responsible for the protection of the people, service and protection of the people, have failed to act on complaints of rape and buggery and abuse by representatives of the PPP government, then you know that it is the PPP that is the problem. It cannot be those individuals. On whose behalf are those individuals acting? What gives Faria the authority as a community development officer to go to a parent and say, your children are required to be at a PYO meeting in another community? What gives him the authority? What gives him the authority is that he is a representative of the party that is in power. He's a representative of the government. What gave Damlal the authority to meet and greet and interact with all of those young Amerindian girls who were part of the heritage pageant? The fact that he is a part of the government, the fact that he is empowered by the government, the fact that he represents the government. Could Damlal as an ordinary individual meet and greet the girls the way he has been able to do it as minister? What gave Damlal the authority, the wherewithal, to have this particular young lady visit his office, to collect large sums of money in the name of her stipends as a transfer student? The fact that he's a representative of the government, he could not have done it as an individual without government authority. What gave him the access to these young ladies? The fact that he's a representative of the government. And so while Damlal is the perpetrator, the PPP as a government, they are the enablers. And since I was a child growing up, they say the upholder is worse than the thief. And so just as how we have a minister who is allegedly a rapist, we have a government that is guilty of allowing and facilitating the rape of our children and the rape of our treasury and the rape of our communities. And so that government must be made to leave office. Because that government has facilitated and continues to facilitate the abuse of our citizens. That government so far has been protective and continues to protect alleged rapists and abusers and child molesters and thieves. And so that government must be made to leave office. And so the PPP as a collective must be made to leave office. Because while we are seeing individually, or while we are believing individually, a lot of illegalities are being perpetrated by their representatives. It is they who are facilitating. I'm sure you've seen the letters and the discourses. I see GHK Lal yesterday, and everybody is writing about all the excesses that this nation has had to endure under the PPP government. Through their representatives. There's nobody that can tell me that the PPP hierarchy and the PPP as a party is not aware of what these persons, and I'm using the words person loosely here, have been guilty of. Here is a photograph that I'm sure you've seen it on the internet. It's circulating. Here's a photograph of Damlal in the presence of a number of minors at a CPL cricket match. And who are the people sitting there? The one far left of my screen where the arrow is pointing is a man called Arafat Kolanda. We have discussed his relationship with the government before. It is alleged that the building that the CID occupies on Vicingen Road was constructed by him with the sole purpose of renting it to the CID for multi-million dollars per month. a close friend and associate of the PPP government, who is sitting next to him. Barack Jagdeo, the so-called vice president, who is sitting next to Jagdeo. The current dunce man that they call President Irfan Ali. And right in front of them is Damlal, in the presence of a bevy of beauties, man. Amerindian beauties. Underage Amerindian beauties. And note, he's not paying rapt attention to any of his elders or his colleagues. He's paying rapt attention to the Amerindian beauties. And it is obvious in my mind that this is not a mound, this is not a grass mound, this is not a green stand, this is not a yellow stand, this is not a stand in which the ordinary Guyanese citizens go and sit to enjoy a game of CPL cricket. This is the VIP stands. This is the VIP stand. So you must have VIP pass, you must have special privilege to find yourself in that stand. So the question must be asked, what made these young Amerindian miners, these miners, these beautiful Amerindian girls, what gave them the privilege to be in that stand? And any self-respecting leadership of any government or any political party will first ask Damlal, assuming that he were their hosts in this event, why are these young ladies in the stand? Why are these young ladies here? What is going on between or among yourself and these young ladies? Why are they so close to you? Don't you know they're minors? Don't you know perception is everything? Don't you know it wouldn't look good in the eyes of the public? No. Those questions could not have been asked. Damlal could not have been upbraided, because as they say, birds of a feather flock together. Birds of a feather flock together. And so I'm saying again, because it is an entire government that allows their representatives to continue to ill-treat and abuse and rape and bugger the citizens of this country, that entire government must be made to go. Why else is Damlal not charged and removed from his job several weeks after these allegations were made against him? Several weeks after the young lady has been interviewed on several occasions and she has stuck to her guns, that a statement is issued is accurate. What else is preventing Damlal from being charged and interdicted or dismissed altogether? A government that is protecting him. And so this is not a Damlal issue, this is a government issue. And so the government must be made to go. They are the enablers. They are the facilitators of rape and abuse against the citizens of this country. Not only in a sexual nature, but economically, socially, in every realm of the lives of the citizens of this country, the PPP facilitates abuse and is guilty of being abusers. So let's talk about that favor. And the two-colored jackass named Harry Gill. Let's talk about that. You see, the likes of Harry Gill can't show no love for family. And they can't show no love for children. because they have abandoned theirs when times were difficult. And they have chosen to dwell in the corridors of power where they can be abusive to other people's children without even feeling guilt, because they don't know what it is to love and cherish and guide and groom children. Let's talk about that, Harry Gill. And the women in the PPP are quite aware that they got these monsters among them. Because it is alleged that a certain female member, who might very well now be a minister in the PPP government, some years ago asked one of our colleagues, who is a member of the PPP government up until now, to give her 14-year-old daughter a drop home. The child turned up home 2 days after having held captive and sexually abused, sexually violated by this criminal who they know. On arriving home, the child went to her room and all she kept doing was screaming, bouts of screaming, bouts of screaming, bouts of screaming. Jano, what is the state of that child's mental and physical up to this day? They know them. It is not like they don't know. But I be on. I be got to protect our shame. I be can't let them know say we get sexual predators in the PPP from top to bottom. I be can't let them know say them I we get thief in the PPP from top to bottom. It is alleged that Cherry Jagan, they say God rest his soul, suffered those major heart attack and died because he found out that a little boy that he had so much trust in, the same one who is now in bed with Sue, been thieving the nation's money, and Janet Jagan say he got to stay right there, he can't go no way. I can't let people know you're thief. And so the entire PPP is a set of facilitators of wrongdoing, rape and buggery, not only sexually but financially and otherwise in this country. They must go. The people must make them go. How will we achieve that? By a show of unity, a commonness of purpose. And when we get rid of them, the likes of Harry Gill and others will not be able to continue to perpetrate abuse on the nation, on the people of this nation, financially and otherwise. It's the only solution. They must go. Are you ready to join the fight to make them go? Call me 6225933 and list for the battles that will have to happen for them to go. Enlist for the fight. Call me 6225933. Mr. Amsterdam, this is my skill set. This is how I can contribute to the struggle to ensure that these rapists and buggerers get out of office. Mr. Amsterdam, I'm not physically there, but these are the resources I can make available to aid in the fight to see the backs of these buggerers and rapists. This is not a Dharmlal problem. This is a government problem. Like Dr. Hines say, the court will eventually pronounce on the guilt or innocence of Dharmlal. But the government as the state, the PPP, as the government of the state, has already been found guilty of facilitating the abuses upon its citizens, and so it must go. It's as simple as that. Those who come here on a daily basis and those who use the state media to spew nonsense in defense of this corrupt and perversive government are those who are benefiting from it. They are the ones who can leave the coast and travel to the interior overnight and get community development officers to use all kinds of guises and take people's children, minor females, out of their homes to go and provide sexual pleasure and warmth to them throughout the night. Orgies, threesome, and John know what else. Those are the ones who come here and use state media and so on to defend this wicked and corrupt administration named the PPP. We as a people have to gather our strength and unite and see their backs. Otherwise, I would hate to say I tell you so. A time will come, if it is not already here, when they will not go to the interior to abuse our Amerindian brothers and sisters, but they're going to come right here and take your children out the house and you can't do nothing about it. I know it is happening in some communities already. The females can't walk on the road in peace. They can't walk on the road after dark because they're collected and raped and sexually abused. This is not a Russia. Don't wait for it to become a Russia. Don't wait for it to become some monarchical state where the emperor could just see a daughter and say, well, I want that one for tonight, yeah, I'm going to bring her. That is how the PPP behaving right now. It is prevalent in the Amerindian communities. It is being practiced there. When they want to say, I want the one for tonight, yeah, I'll bring you, they travel to the interior for the most part. Or in some instances, they simply send a plane ticket. Y'all investigate who is a sitting minister of government who is guilty or who it is alleged caused a young Amerindian child, a minor Amerindian child, 14-year-old again, they like them at 14, to travel out of the interior several occasions without the knowledge of their parents and come and shack up in Georgetown. Some people allege it is at a sleep-in hotel for several days while the parents running helter-skelter saying that a child missing. This sexual pervert got a child shack up in Georgetown, and what reward they get? They are now a minister of government. And the only way that could happen is because the PPP is a government of rapists and buggerers. And it's quite well and good. It would appear the more wicked and criminal you are, the better the likelihood you will get to serve the PPP government. If you don't want to live in a criminal state where these miscreants can do you as they like, when they like, how they like, the time is now. Join the fight, join the movement, join the revolution to get rid of them. The evidence is out there. You ain't gotta go far for it. It is out there. You see it every single day. When a nurse at one of your leading educational institutions, the President's College, could have young men strip in front of her, allegedly, but I've seen the letters. I've seen the complaints. To say she's examining them to see if they shaved their pubic areas. And sees nothing wrong with that. Doesn't see that it's sexually abusive and invasive. And has the temerity to tell people, my sister is a member of the PPP, I can't get fired. You know that the PPP, as a government, as a political party, as a cabal, as a criminal cabal, as a cartel, facilitates these abuses. I got a recommendation for the boys at President's College. Y'all gonna think of lewd. But they got ways of stopping abuses and stopping it in the tracks. One of the boys must ensure that when she calls for them, they play with itself and get an erection and go to she with it. That's my recommendation. Because when you're dealing with lewd people, sometimes they got to get lewd for them to get the message. And this nation needs to get lewd with this lewd government to see the backs of them. The lines are open. 6225933 is the number to call. When you're dealing with a set of people who are illegal and acting outside of the law, then you must go outside of the law if it becomes necessary to deal with them. 6225933 is the number to call. The lines are opened. Call over the line. Call it live. Good morning.
Yes, good morning, good morning, good morning to you, and good morning to all my black brothers and sisters in Guyana. This is Flash Garden again. Let me back you up with those couple words first. The money was Jagdio so thief. I'm talking what me now. It's a $60 million when Jagan went to India and come back. That money was gone. And Jagdio burned the evidence. Somebody was walking there and the person had to leave and go to America. That person would always back me up with that. That is the money what Jagdio so thief. $60 million from the treasury. Let me move on. And that's the same word, because this word is legal in the whole world. Buggering. That is Cody thing. Cody love that. Black man convicted from Cody. Let's garden move on. If you get 25 of them or 10 of them call it today and say, Mr. Amsterdam, I'm ready for join you. Just let me know when. You get enough. Because all what black people doing today is talking. And watching. They're not coming up with no plan for stop them from doing what they're doing today. All them young MP were embracing Abinatin. Did that, done that when he was young, like them. All they do, going for different program. That would not solve the problem with them wicked cabal in government. It is time for them young MP come outside there now and start going for program. I see Mr. Whitford, the first thing he announced 44,000 viewers. I never heard none of them talk about they got a plan, like you said. We got to bring them out and stop them. We got to push them out and stop the buggering and the killing and everything that is wrong towards black people in the mirror. Non-program, they're not coming up with no plan. It is time for we stop watching them and talking what I'm doing. It's a shame and ridiculous with black people in Guyana. Leave other woman, school clothes, a time for come up, get them union member to come on the board and say, hey, we need you now, and shut the country down. Let the oil interrupt. If the oil keep flowing, business keep flowing, then we'll continue to do. And what black man doing? Talking. Let me say this before I go. The Indian man, they will wash and make hand come clean. Black man not do that. The Indian man, every cover pipe in the mouth, black man not do that. Our black man do, wash mouth with mouth, attack on top of the mouth. That's all what people doing. You see support they have now. When a black sister be get raped on East Coast, none of them come out and protest and do nothing. That black sister had to take her life. And she do more. She not write no letter. She walk with a plane and go to the right place, the police, and make her report. And then police harass her, victimize her the second time. She had to go and take her life. I ain't seen none of them people come and protest and even take a life for her and represent her. A black sister. But look the support. That's what we're talking about. When you see black people, MP and leaders start looking for Kwasama vote, they will respect us in Guyana. Thank you for your time. Oh, by the way, which day is a children party for you?
It's the 12th. It's a Wednesday, I think. No, a Saturday. Sorry. It's a Wednesday. Yes, Wednesday, the 12th of July. That's my birthday.
What time?
What time? I intend to start at 1.
1 o'clock.
Yes, I'm going to have to lunch session.
Thank you very much for your time. Okay.
Good.
Please post your address on my WhatsApp, please. It's very important.
Okay, I'll send it to you eventually.
Thank you. After the program. Good.
Good, thank you. Yeah, the lines remain open. 6225933 is the number to call. And before I go any further, let me tell you that today is the birthday of a special lady. Her name is Abiola Washington. Abiola Washington, happy birthday. Abiola is a diamond viewer on the program. She has been with us from inception. Happy birthday, girl. I hear you turned 40. Congratulations. 40 is a good number. Yes, caller. Thank you for holding. You're live.
Yeah, bless good day to you, Mr. Kadaki, and the rest of the Guyanese nation. Miss Abiola, happy birthday to you. May God bless you to live to see many, many more birthdays with health and strength. May your life be prosperous, that you can live to resist the wrong and continue to serve God in spirit and in truth. Have a blessed day. God bless you, Miss Abiola. And for the rest of the Guyanese nation, please, Guyanese, let us realize, I said before, and I'm going to just remind you and refresh your mind a little. We are a physical being and spiritual being. And what is going on this nation, over this nation, is our leaders, them, who are connected to the kingdom of darkness. Understand my words clearly. They are serving the kingdom of darkness. And kingdom cannot war against itself. So don't expect that if them and they are going to do something against Mr. Damlal. And it's you, the citizen of this nation. I've got to pressure them to put them in the position. Prayers and faith with work by continuing the pressure and the protesting against the evil, so the evil can go. Don't expect some of them who are calling themselves choice people. I'm speaking from the spiritual realm because I am a member, I am of the body and the body of Christ. And so I am talking to those. Be careful, Guyanese, of those who are religious people. Religious people are not the people that have a relationship with the Almighty God. Relationship is the people that have a relationship with God. You have to have a relationship with the Holy Spirit. And so even though they're parading in the farmer's light, there may be darkness, some of them. So you got to be very careful. That's why in the past I was calling for many members of the religious faith or bodies to come out. I am calling truly to those who can hear, who have ears to let them hear. Because some are in the kingdom of darkness too. And kingdoms do not war against themselves. If we take, for example, we can watch the minister. We begin with the vice president when he was president. You hear what your wife said he had done to her? Okay, that's their own private thing, but then she was first lady. He disowned her as first lady. He says he did, that's a big lie. The devil is the father of lies. So he was using and abusing her at the same time. And then he go to represent women. I don't know what do you want with the women organization. And if you come down, you're going to remember Kwame. Oh, Julian this, Julian that, Julian the other. It is not coincident happening. Right now, a minister next month going to go and marry in New York. A female going to marry a female. Nobody never guess what they are doing with their private life. But what I'm saying, when you're going to rule a nation that believe in Almighty God, they believe in righteousness, then you cannot allow wicked leaders to be making decisions and leading you. They are going to be leading the nation into the kingdom of darkness. Please do not expect them to do anything against Mr. Damlal, but to represent and defend them in diplomatic form. So Guyanese, stand up with the righteous-minded people, stand up and do what is right and stand up for righteousness, and then God will give you the reward. Otherwise, so that faith without work will be dead. Let us put God first and righteousness first and the kingdom of light. Everybody in this nation belongs to a kingdom. Everybody in the universe, whether the kingdom of light or the kingdom of darkness, it's good to know which kingdom you belong to, because by the fruit you will know. And if your fruit is righteousness, we know the spirit of truth, God Almighty, deal with righteousness. Wickedness is Lucifer and the kingdom of darkness. Anyhow, have a blessed day, Guyana, and become conscious and become aware what's going on in Pleasance and them place. They're not coincident what happened in the muck and them place. They're not coincident the accident on the road, 2 motorbike clashing head on and on. They are not coincident. They are spiritual warfare and spirit getting the blood of the nation. So Guyanese prayers and work to submit to righteousness, that is what's going to get this nation out of the position. Have a blessed day. God bless you, Mr. Kodaki. And once again to my beloved sister, happy birthday. May you live to see many more.
Thank you for your call. Is a crab like me? Yes, it's a crab like me. Yes, 6225933 is the number to call. The lines are still open. We're talking about this nasty, stinking, and dirty government that we must see the back of.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. And first of all, a special happy birthday to the person who is celebrating our birthday. Now, Kodaki, you are bringing out certain points. They are everything what you say. And we have got to see, we have got to put our backs to behind to see this predator and other predators are being called out, and the world must know them. And I quite agree with what the callers talk about, the girl who ended up committing suicide, because when you end up in situations like these and everybody just keep throwing things at you, remember your body has already been destroyed by the person. And whatever way you feel you can't, you have no control. And when you go out there to like get justice, and then you are being given the wrong, and if you're not strong, you will, most people decide the best way out for me is suicide. But that doesn't happen because you're dead and your predator is there enjoying life and even trampling on your grave to see what they caused to happen to you. Now, when you talk about the raping of the country, what these people do, when they're destroying you at every available point, and they try to get to you and get to know your weak points, and then they try to focus on that weak point, and you might not have the sense. You might think that is something good, and before you know it, you've gone over the precipice, and that's the end of you. And I want this week we must continue. Oh, by the way, now with the atrocities of the PPP since putting themselves installed into the running of Guyana. First, we had a big drug boss in Germany that spent a little time on the border, it went away. Then we had the gun story that was taking a little time, that eventually you hear nothing more about the strip of guns. Then we went down to the Sugate story after a couple mornings to go under the rug. Then we had some other incidents like the Henry Boys, Boston, and those other killings come up under the rug. Then we had the schools that were being burned, St. George's, Christchurch, Multilateral, come up under the rug. Then we had the killing of those 19 children in the dormitory, come up under the rug. And now the latest thing is with this girl and this rape. Now prior to that, the person who is in charge of Ministry of Education, the minister for Ministry of Education. Can you remember the same minister was Minister of the children, I can't remember the thing, Social Security, whatever. And under that same minister tender, when they lost the home, where they were keeping people, children, taking them away from the children, and I think 7 of the children were being burnt alive in that building. It's the same minister who is now in a ministry where they lost 19 lives in one building. So we should follow the fire trail of that minister. And we, as members, you have got to be very vigilant with what is going on. Oh yes, and one thing I forgot, the petition of the 2020 election, all of that, and everything just come up and go down. The judges claim they would have been given an answer, and today, this is about 3 months since the case went for the answering the report of the judges, and we haven't heard anything. So we would like to know all these unsolved mysteries of the installed regime. When will we, the people, get an answer to our quest of knowledge and all these atrocities of the PPP installed regime? Bye-bye.
Thank you for your call. Call your life.
Good morning, Mr. Amsterdam. Good morning, everyone in Guyana. Good morning, everyone in the diaspora. You had made a call, a request for persons who want to contribute to the removal of the illegitimate PPP for a variety of reasons should contribute whatever skills, whatever little contributions they can make. I intend to make a variety of contributions, one of which this morning is, I sent a photograph to you earlier of an ambassador from the United States, and she is the ambassador against human trafficking. She works in contingency with the United States State Department. She's also an attorney at law. Her portfolio is that she's heading up as the ambassador at large. That's her portfolio, ambassador at large, dealing with human trafficking. Cindy Bayer. Mr. Kadaki, if it's possible, if you could put her image up on the screen, if it's possible, because people need, it would be helpful if they could see her face and see her authenticity, that she's an authentic portfolio. Part of her portfolio is to investigate, is to ensure that governments around the world who are getting aid from the United States, US aid, and who are in relationships and who are signatories to United Nations Charter against human trafficking. Those countries, she is ambassador at large. There are other ambassadors around the world in the United Nations. So 2 things she's going to be heading up. She's going to be dealing with the scrutiny of those who are complying to human trafficking and those who are signatories to the United Nations Charter against human trafficking. As well as there is a protocol out. It's called the Palermo Protocol. We should Google it. For those of us who are very interested, it's called the Palermo Protocol. Mr. Amsterdam, you may have it there as well. The Palermo Protocol deals with 3 P's: protection, prosecution, and prevention of human trafficking. It prevents human trafficking. It prosecutes human trafficking at the level of the United Nations Charter and at the level of the United States law. Now, this deals with Darmlau's communications, as I spoke about yesterday, with the relationship that a mother alleged that Darmlal had with her underage daughter. So, I'm not just calling here to abuse down, as we rightfully should. I'm calling here to start a sequence of events. This is a crime. We are alleging that it's a crime. So the thing which we need for a crime is statute, is law. What elements of the law has he violated? The Palermo Act, the United Nations Charter on Trafficking, and the United States law, together with the Guyanese laws that he has already violated, alleged to have been violated. So those are the statutes. Who are the persons who we can put an alert to Darmlau's conduct? Cindy Bayer. Okay, so for all the enthusiasm which we have, and that's good, here is the number to call. We have her name, we have her photograph, we have her portfolio, we have her agency. For those of us in the United States, should not wait until this afternoon, we can start the calling. When you call, stick to the facts. Who, what, where, why, when, how, alleged. Who, what, where, why, when, how, state your points. Okay? Now, so I just wanted to touch on that, because I don't know what others are doing, but I know what we can do. So we don't have to wait on the procrastination of others chasing their tail. We talk about people power. Here is the recipe. Here is how to do. We don't got to look for a lawyer. Cindy Bayer is a lawyer. We don't have to look for statutes. I have presented the statutes to you. The Palermo Act. We can Google that online. Talks about the 3 Ps. That's what they do. So just in case the DPP in Guyana is procrastinating, guess what? Mr. Kadaki, if you put that explanation up on the screen, people can see that this Palermo Act, the 3 Ps, deals with prevention. Guyana is signatory to that Palermo Act. So the DPP can drag her foot all she wants to. We will tie her in to her obligations to the Palermo 3 Ps. So she can drag her foot all she wants to. Because we intend to put the United Nations on alert that the DPP is dragging our feet. So she's under scrutiny. So that's for Rickford Burke. I know he's has a lot of work to do. That's for Mark Bench Chop as well. That's for Dr. Hines, and especially former police commissioner, assistant commissioner of police, Paul Slow. He has the proper acumen how to follow up on these things. I've given you the recipe. Or at least suggested it.
Have you used it?
I think I'm missing what. Yes, I've already used it. Yes, I've already used it. I'm making some calls. I'm sending some emails. And that's why I'm also using it. I'm also using it right now by explaining it. I am putting it into use. I am disseminating it to the world. I've also put it to use by providing it to you because you requested it. So that's also putting it to use. Once again, thank you for listening. I hope we can put it into action. Once again, thank you.
Thank you for calling. The lines you made up. I see another. This Maria calling them by their full name. I see another jackass who can't come here with his correct name. He got a spelling that I wouldn't even try to pronounce. A group of letters tossed together, asking about Fabs Burnham, grooming Dolly Bashk and whatever else, asking about a whole lot of other things. Let me say this to you. Burnham wasn't a tower of virtue. I'm sure of that. I'm sure of that. He dead and gone. Those of the generation that failed to hold him accountable had that burden to deal with. I will confront the burden that confronts this country in my generation while I'm alive. I said it before and I'm going to say it again. Rape perhaps existed from creation. But is it right? Because you daddy rapist sissy for make you. Your son must rape your daughter to make your grandchild. You're talking about answering intelligently when you could answer that question for me intelligently. We have a point of discussion. Otherwise, as they say, devil, get the hell behind me. I am not going to go back 40 and 50 and 60 and 100 years to justify what people are doing now. Rape was rape then. Rape is rape now. Not because your ancestors saw it fit to give their children to suitors at age 13 and 14 and 11. $40, $50, $60 years ago, it must be acceptable now. The world has moved on. The world has grown. People have come to recognize what is not right in that. And so not because your grandmother, your mama or your chachi were child brides and grooms, we must accept it in 2023. Not because politicians 30 and 40 and 50 and 60 years ago were using political power to commandeer people's children and rape and bugger them, it must be accepted now. So those are my intelligent answers for you. Glendale, whatever you want to call your name yourself, with those few letters strung together. And did you say they called you intellectually lazy? Well, quite frankly, you've just convinced me that you are intellectually lazy. The lines remain open. 6225933 is the number to call. (6225933) is the number to call. You tune to the Guyanese Morning Time. And somebody raised something about Susan Rodriguez getting married overseas in another couple of days or hours or weeks, whatever it is, in a same-sex marriage. I want to ask y'all something. Which Guyanese can get up today and go even to the deeds registry or even a church in this country and get married in a same-sex marriage? And for as long as you can't do it legally in this country, I want you all to explain to me which society will allow one of their legislators to go overseas, get married in a same-sex marriage, and note, same-sex marriage is against the laws of this country, and come back and sit in the National Assembly. I don't care what people do with their life. I usually say whatever floats your boat. But Susan Rodriguez getting married in a same-sex marriage ought to be of national concern because she's engaging in an illegal act according to the laws of this country. But are you seeing that? Or you're just seeing Susan Rodriguez getting married to another woman in a foreign state? If one of your MPs were to go to the US and get charged for drug trafficking, would you allow them to come and sit in the House of the National Assembly as a convicted drug trafficker? So you all explain that to me and tell me why Susan Rodriguez can feel comfortable going to the US, getting married in a same-sex marriage, and coming back to sit in your National Assembly, whereas a legislator, she overlooks laws that says the citizens of this country can't get married in a same-sex marriage. Y'all tell me that. 6225933 is the number to call. Y'all talking about intellectual lazy, it's the right of the PPP. And in many of your communities where y'all come from to defend this madness that is the PPP. The lines remain open. Call every targeting. I'm fighting for targeting. A coward dies 1,000 deaths. While you are waiting for targeting, I'm going to play Taurus Riley for the birthday girl.
Natural beauty, you know. Yeah. No, I've never been someone shy until I seen your eyes. Still I had to try. Yeah. Oh yes. Let me get my words right and then approach you. Woman, I'll treat you like a man is supposed to. You'll never have to cry. No. I know everyone can relate to when they find a special someone. And she's royal, yeah, so royal. And I want her in my life. I never knew anyone so one of a kind. No, the way she moves to her own. She has the qualities of a queen. She's a queen.
Call it live, good morning. Call her in here, you go ahead.
I say like you have Gymkhana this morning. You have a lot of jackasses there.
Maybe it's the whole state will come out.
You're telling you. I got a question for that last one, right? Which race of people offer up their daughters to the boss man just so that they could get promotion? And worse yet, if the boss man is white, sometimes some of them even offer up their wives, go gal, go sit down next to them. Which race of people do that, right? So these people ain't got any kind of moral grounding. You understand? So they will say what Darmlal did there. It's okay because their morality is dead there. It's so depleted. You can't even find none of the letters of morality inside of it. Right? That's one. Number two, I see they had a next thing talking about something in let them there with the next rape. Alleged rape. And the parent jump in and shut it down. In that obstruction, Because over here, once somebody is being judged for rape or alleged rape was done, the investigators, there's no one could obstruct the investigators. That thing got to go through. You understand? And last but not least, someone said that a certain doctoral person love to mention his numbers that are looking and are on Facebook, etc., etc. But I'm going to say something. You with less than 1,000 every day is much more effective, and you're a better mobilizer than them who got 40,000 and what's not. They just got numbers. That's all they got. But they're not as effective as you. So what you doing is way, way more better than what a lot of them who like to talk about. Oh, this one is online, that one is online. Good night, this one, good afternoon, this one, and all the nonsense. You're much more effective than the ones with them big, big numbers. So you keep up the good work, my brother.
Thank you for your call. Jackass Kama wants to know when I think I can get married.
Hi,
Online and no
good morning,
extent.
Kadaki.
Call you live. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Kadaki. You know, I never heard of Susan Rodriguez, but is the wife she's getting married to, is the person a Guyanese? That's the question number one. And if it's illegal in Guyana, that means that she's committing an illegal act. And when the wife goes to Guyana, or if she lives in Guyana, they're both going to be illegal. But can you tell me who is that person and who the wife's supposed to be? Because I've never heard about her. Thank you.
Call her why y'all think I just know all these things. I don't know.
Because you said it.
I don't know who. I know who Susan Rodriguez is. She is a legislator. She sits in the seat of government. She is Minister of Housing, I think, or she is in within that ministry. I don't know who her wife is. Right? But I just know that same-sex marriage is illegal in Guyana. And so you can't get one of your legislators going and partake in something illegal and then come back and sit in your house of legislation. Something got to be wrong. And y'all don't come thinking I got a problem with who do what with their life sexually. It doesn't matter for them. I know what I do and don't.
Good morning, Mr. Amsterdam. This current PPP government is bad news for Guyana and all Guyanese. And Guyana has become a country of lawlessness. And it's very, very, very sad. And people have to stop talking and start acting. Protest, and demand your rights.
Call it live. Good morning.
Very good morning. Good morning, Brother Kadaki. Good morning to one and all. You know, that situation that was just talking about just now, the minister, Rodriguez, what her name is, I'm going to get it may sound like a joke. I mean, he all laugh, he ha, ha, and all these kind of things. But it's in a joke. It's deeper than that. Because, look at it. There's something I think that supports the apartheid system that they have in Guyana. Because if someone could go out in another country and commit a crime, that's something that is a crime in their country, and come back as that, even though you've let it sit, and it's a legislator too, right? You've legislated for a law and that makes you something, and then you tell somebody else that no, you can't be that. Only I could be that. That's apartheidness. You know, that's what went down in the South African apartheid regime is one of the things. So that's another support for there being an apartheid regime. That's what I say. Thanks.
Thank you for your call. Call it live.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Amsterdam. I would just like to you asked for contribution, and I was wondering what would it take for like BBC or CNN to run it, little story on this thing. So for me, I would try to find out like how can a story of this magnitude get onto CNN or BBC. So at least it would like reach more people. Do you have the number for this person that the guy provided, Cindy Doyle, or do we have to go back and like Google it to get the number?
He hasn't. The number didn't come through with his conversation. That's I know for a fact. All right.
Okay.
I'll see what I can find.
Okay.
Okay, I think if you go to state.gov, biography Cindy Dyer, you will find her there.
Okay, well, I would try to like see how a story of this magnitude could actually get onto those news agencies, because I mean it's worthy, it's newsworthy, and I'm thinking that, you know, they should like want to run something like this because it involves human trafficking also. So that's my contribution, and whenever the protest is on, you know, I'm willing to provide whatever little water stuff. So just let me know and keep on the pressure, and God bless you as always. Thank you.
Thank you. We have to learn to delegate. We can't do it all alone. So we have to delegate. Everybody has to take on a task. And so thank you for those of you who are taking on task. Yes, that's what we have to do. Take on task. I see this same clown come back and say, notice not one of the Afro lowlights responded to his truth about false boredom. Didn't you hear me respond? That's what I'm talking about, being intellectually lazy. Right? A response to you is what you want to hear. But nobody has responded if they didn't say what you want to hear. I'm sorry for you. You just got to go and relook at the program when it's ended, perhaps, and see for your response, assuming you didn't hear it. But I rather want to believe you heard it, but you couldn't accept it. It's as simple as that. The lines are open. They remain open. You tune to the Guyanese Morning Time. Why y'all sending me photo? I ain't promoting that.
Mr. Amsterdam, good morning. Right now, I am so appalled because this PPP cabal that these people force upon us in this country, what type of people are they calling themselves ministers and government of the day? Every category of person is in that party. What is this in Guyana? What is this upon us? I don't see nothing left out. They got from the thief to the this to the my goodness, calling the same government. We gotta really start, Guyanese. We gotta rise up and get rid of these people. These people are terrible. This is bad news for our children and our children's children. What an example. My goodness. I tell you, Guyana and Guyanese, we're in a bad place. We gotta get out. We got to try to get this out of here. We got to get these people out of there. Or Guyana would be looked at as a country with no integrity or nothing. This is where our people want to be living under. My goodness. This is shameful and disgraceful. A whole set of people with no integrity, calling themselves government running country. My God. Father, take the wheels of Guyana. Bye.
Thank you for your voice note.
Good morning, Kadaki listeners. Since the first day, the
What went on here?
International Criminal Court in The Hague should have been notified. This is a high-profile rape case with high-ranking officials attached to it. Good morning, Kadaki listeners. Since the officials attached to it.
Call it live. Thank you for holding.
Hi, Brother Kadaki. Good morning. Blessings to you and your listeners. I just want to be able to contribute very quickly. And I'm sure I may have either missed somebody making this point. I think it is very important for us to draw an inference, specifically in the Indian culture. And so looking at some of the individuals that have been commenting in a very ignorant way, specifically that gentleman that made the point of Burnham, one of the things that we must always remember and we must always reflect on is that in especially the Indian culture, or at least in some aspects of the Indian culture, that there has been, for as long as, from my experience and my understanding and my knowledge, it has been an acceptable culture that embraces very young marriages. So little girls getting married at a very tender age when they don't have the ability to be able to make critical decisions on their own. And so when you look at a culture that truly embraces young marriages, and sometimes those marriages, they're birthed out of multiple reasons or circumstances, whether it is from a rape or whether it is from incest or whether it might have been from different circumstances. So what we are seeing in our society in Guyana is that there is an acceptability as also an intentional level of in most of the Indian communities, because when I go to social media and I look at the folks that are speaking out against this, the majority of the Indian communities have been very muted and silent. And so what does that say to us as a culture and as a society and as a country? What is happening with the Dharamlal situation? In most circumstances, in most Indian communities and homes, youth marriage, and I'm talking about children getting married, even back in India, has been an acceptable norm and ethos as a culture. So there's a bit of a thin line for most of them to see what Dharamlal has done as something with impunity or seeing it as a wrong. Because if you have emanated from a society that there's a slight borderline, there's a thin line of where young little girls are getting married, are being married. And we know this from the eminence of the Indian culture from India and also from Guyana in most instances. So in order to be able to say, it is very clear that folks like what we're seeing in the comments that are excusing behaviors like this understands that this is a norm. This is where in their culture, for the most part, at least there's a thin line understanding that this type of behavior is excused, it is acceptable, it is understood, it is completely one that is normalized. And so when we see the deafening and the silence of a people, of a culture in Guyana, because the Indians are a very obviously huge population of our citizenry. And so when you see the silence, it tells us, and it's not what people say, it's what they don't say. And so their silence is resounding. the silence tells you that this is normalized. And so you're going to have idiots like the ones that is coming on your show to explain, justify, and to state publicly that this behavior is okay. What's the big deal? And so we must be clear to understand where we are as a society. What are those cultural intersectionality? Because those things do matter. If you have a prominent and a dominant culture that accepts rape and accepts young brides and accepts certain behaviors, you can't, when you're trying to extrapolate to say, okay, this one in particular is egregious. No, it's egregious to marry a young child, right? And equally so, it's egregious to rape a 16-year-old girl that doesn't have the ability to say no against someone that has a ton of power. So we've got to be able to conceptualize what is happening and where these things are coming from. So there are cultural norms that makes these behaviors acceptable. So when we see the Indian, and I'm calling it out this morning, when we see the majority of the Indian population in Guyana silent, we must take note of that. It is not by accident that they are silent. And then when we see their public pronouncements and we see their posts and how they are completely justifying this behavior of Dharamla, we must be clear of what we're up against and what we're dealing with. Thank you and have a blessed day.
Thank you for your call. That was the final call for the day. There are lots of calls. It's 9:15. Y'all get overtime today. Voice note.
Morning, Kadaki. Morning, listeners and viewers. My hang-up is with the international diplomatic people in Guyana. These diplomats, they going around the world telling people about, oh, what is child abuse, what is sex trafficking, what is rape, what is this and what and that. And they're right in Guyana there, yeah? The Americans, the British, the Canadians, those from the EU, and even CARICOM, and they're not saying anything. They're not saying anything. And in my opinion, they're part and parcel of what's going on. Are they just there to destabilize Guyana? Just there to destabilize. They don't want to see people happy in Guyana. This is unacceptable. This is outrageous. They're going around telling people, oh, this is a crime, this is an offense, and we got to stop calling this thing human trafficking. It's not human trafficking. Let me call it for what it is. It's child trafficking. Child trafficking. Minors. These people terrorizing minors, children. Call it for what it is. Please. Something needs to be done, man. Something needs to be done. This is going on for too long. This has been going on for too long, and it's time for it to end. There's always a first time for everything, and now the end should come. As Rhonda said, everything being swept under the carpet. My Guyanese people, men and women, don't let this one go under the carpet. Don't allow this one to go under the carpet. Let this be the start of something phenomenal. Thank you.
Thank you for your call. Remember, Wednesday the 12th of July, we got a birthday bash for the children. We're starting at 1 o'clock. Yes, bring out those children. Let's have fun. Trampoline in place. Goodies secured. We getting there daily. Plans are being put in place, you know. Let it come. We got ice cream banquet. We got cupcakes. We got goodies to them. You know, we got trampoline. Let them come and have some fun. Right? We encourage our children to be children. We don't encourage rape against our children. On the 15th of July is when we'll have the adult bash. It's called the 3-course dinner dance. One-man band, live entertainment, and so on. Come on down. You know the ticket cost there. That's $10,000 all inclusive. So come on down. Hit me up for your tickets and let's have some fun. Another crowd like me, Abiola Washington celebrates her birthday today. And so let's serenade the 40-year-old.
What a natural beauty. No need no makeup to be a cutie. She's a queen.
Alright, we got somebody popping with a final voice note. I'm gonna accommodate this one. No more after now.
The international community, to rebuttal that last gentleman, the international community will only respond after Guyanese take the first move and take the first actions. They will not respond if Guyanese do not stand up. Why are they standing up if you guys are not standing up? If we are not standing up, stand up and the international community will follow.
She's a queen. Natural beauty, you know. Yeah. No, I've never been someone shy until I seen your eyes. Still I had to try. Yeah. Oh yes, let me get my words right and then approach you. Woman, I'll treat you like a man is supposed to. You'll never have to cry. No, I know everyone can relate to when they find a special someone. And she's royal, yeah, so royal. And I want her in my life. I never knew anyone so one of a kind. No, the way she moves to her own beat, she has the qualities of a queen. She's a queen. Ooh, ooh, what a natural beauty. No need no makeup to be a cutie. She's a queen. She's a queen. And when they ask what a good woman's made of, she's not afraid and ashamed of who she is. She's royal, yeah, so royal. And I need her in my life. I never knew anyone so one of a kind until the night that I seen your eyes. My queen, so supreme. I can see it in her eyes, the way she smiles. Hey, yes, I know the king and queen crown same time, so I never leave your side. Just stick with me through the trial times. Oh, and she says she no mind. Alright, I know good man is hard to find. And she can't about that giant line. That's why she has no ties at this time. Yeah, I know many men are trying, but she needs to be more than wine and dine, because she's royal, yeah, so royal. And I want her in my life. I never knew anyone so divine. The way she moves to her own beat, she has the qualities of a queen, so supreme. Ooh, ooh, what a natural beauty. No need no makeup to be a cutie. She's a queen, so supreme. Yeah, And when they ask what a good woman's made of, she's not afraid and ashamed of who she is. She's royal, yeah, so royal. And I want her in my life. I never knew anyone so one of a kind. No, the way she moves to her own beat, she has the qualities of a queen, my Nubian queen. Hey.
Yes, that was Tarrus Riley. Many persons are asking who the singer is, who the artist is. It's Tarrus Riley. Tarrus is one of my foremost. I love Tarrus Riley music. I love Morgan's Heritage. Those are the kind of music I listen to in my quiet time, man. Reggae music, reggae music, real reggae music. I'm not talking about dance. I'm talking about reggae music. Reggae music always, sets the tone for me. Right? I see there's a long comment by some Terence Ali. We'll talk about that tomorrow. I promise you I will address Terry Ali. The question of cultural practices has also been raised in relation to child marriages and so on. I tell you honestly, it's a place I hope not to go. I didn't want to go. I don't ever like going because a lot of toes get mashed in that. But I will share with you tomorrow a post, I think, from, what's this guy's name? I think his name is Bailey, Michael Bailey or something like that. I'll share a post from Bailey tomorrow. And I hope I get to see or find a comment made by an academic of Indo-Guyanese extraction on that same post. And we will discuss that post along with the comment from this academic, along with what the cultural practices that were raised. And I will certainly try to address the reality tomorrow. So spread the word. Tomorrow is going to be an interesting one. Right? Tomorrow is going to be an interesting one. But let today also be interesting. Go there and continue to confront this wicked administration. We must see the backs of the PPP. We must see their back. They are the facilitators of rape and buggery against the people of this nation. Not only sexual, but social, financial, and otherwise. And we have to get rid of our abusers if we want to lead happy lives. It's as simple as that. Have a good day, y'all. Goodbye.